Good afternoon, this is Nicholas from Gandora Gaming, and I want to bring you all my True Draco deck profile post Banlist September. Let's fucking go, everybody. True Dracos are back in the meta. I really do think this deck is definitely tier 1 or 2. This deck is stupidly good. I've seen a couple of rogue players at my locals do really well at top tournaments with this deck because it's a sleeper. No one expects you to play True Draco, and then they whip it out on you, and you're like, fuck. They have 9 skill drains in the deck. What are you going to do about it? This deck is explosive, it floodgates, and yeah, it's probably one of the best control decks in the meta. And thank God we finally have Dynamite Knight the 3, because this deck really needs some love. For those of you who don't know my channel, I never really talked about the True Dracos. I just started 2 months ago. But the True Dracos have a special place in my heart. They're one of my favorite archetypes of all time. They're one of the first meta archetypes I've ever played. I didn't play when they were relevant. So I was playing... Well, I did play when they were relevant, but I wasn't playing when they're in the best deck. So I started playing after Masterpiece was banned, and we got Dynamite back. So I've been playing ever since, with Dynamite when it was put to 1, and Masterpiece was banned. And I was playing this deck for a very long time. I played it all the way up to 2019, when I ended up going off to college. And I believe the big nerf came with Card Demise and the field spell Dragon Diagram, and a whole bunch of cards got hit. That was a really bad ban list for True Draco. They really killed this deck. They killed a lot of decks that format. They killed Pendulums. I believe they killed every internal deck. So I think Thunder Giant Colossus was on that list. I believe they hit the Salamangrates. That's when they all put to 1. I believe that was the list that Harpor was banned. And I believe that was the list with Engage was banned. It was a pretty gigantic list. They really nerfed the fuck out of every meta deck. And True Dracos wasn't the most meta deck at the time, but it was definitely the good control deck at the time. It was definitely a deck you didn't want to sleep on. And right now I feel like everyone's sleeping on True Draco. But Dynamite the 3 is kind of nuts. This card's stupid. And let's just get straight into this. So first things first, we'll just free the boy. We have 3 True Draco Knight. We'll let you say his name correctly, shall we? Let's not disrespect. Dynamist Knight, the True Draco. This guy is stupid. Basically, when you contribute summon all the True Dracos, so it's a Monarch deck. So the evolution of Yu-Gi-Oh! Kind of goes like this. Before there was Flunderies, there was True Draco. And before True Draco, there was Monarchs. And then before Monarchs, well, Monarchs are pretty old to be honest, but I'm talking about the structure deck Monarchs. There is Barrier Statues. And True Dracos was like the 3rd evolution, or I guess 2nd evolution if you want to call it Monarch ways. Draco Knight is stupid. So all the True Dracos read, you can tribute summon them by tributing a continuous spell or trap you control instead of a monster, which is fantastic. That means they're all basically normal summons in hand. Fantastic card. Then, he has effect, they all do, all the monsters, they have a quick effect to add a different type of card from your deck to your hand based on which one you play. So he searches your trap cards, which True Draco has one of the most powerful trap cards in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Not gonna lie. That continuous trap, which we'll get into, is stupid. And it's one of the most broken cards in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! I still think that to this day. And now that we can search it so easily, yeah, this guy's stupid. He's cracked. You have to play him at 3. Fuck Masterpiece coming back. Have this guy at 3. It is such a house of a card. And it's so glad to see this guy back in the meta. Next, we have Ignister Heat, or Ignis Heat, however you want to pronounce him. The True Draco Warrior. This guy is fantastic. Another 3 of. He does the same thing that all the other ones do, but instead of searching a trap, he searches your continuous spells, which is a fantastic card to search, because we use some really powerful continuous spells that we can search, which is fantastic. This guy is amazing. Also, his stats aren't bad either. 2400 with the field spell. He comes like 27. This guy's kind of a house. And skill drain on the field, he's even worse. This guy's a fantastic card. For our final monster that we play in the deck, we play one Majesty's Maiden, a true Draco fighter, or just Majesty's Maiden. This card's amazing. It basically used to be played more. We just play as a one-of because our main ones are these two right here. These are our control cards. Don't get me wrong, you could play two Majesty's Maiden, but I personally think these two are the best ones because they search your spells and traps. One True Draco Majesty Maiden's fine by me. If you want, you can boost her up to 2. I personally am just playing her as a one-of. That is it for the monsters. You don't play a big monster count because you don't want a brick on them. You don't want a handful of True Dracos. I remember one of the tournaments I was at in locals. I think it was like round 3. It was the third, and it was a best of 3. We're in the third match, and it's my turn. I win the die roll. Won game 1, lost game 2. This is game 3. I drew 5 copies of True Dracos. I was only playing 5 True Dracos at the time. I was playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I was just playing 1, 2, and then 3. And I drew all 5 in hand. It was really bad. You don't want to see multiple of the True Draco monsters. You want to be able to search them, and honestly, I think this is the right ratio. I almost want to cut Majesty's Maiden, just play these 3 right here. But you need a little bit more consistency because of the field spell. That's why we're playing the one of her. But that is it for the monsters. Now it's time to go into the spells and traps. This deck is a house, and I can't wait to get into them. So now it's time to talk about the most controversial take I have in Yu-Gi-Oh! This card can come back to 3. This is Dragonic Diagram. This is one of the only cards that True Draco still has left on the ban list. This card got put the 1 in the same list that basically the True Dracos got nerfed with card demise. This card is really, really stupid, but I don't think it's stupid like how today's stupid is. I still feel like Tier Elements can walk over this deck. I feel like any deck that's playing spell and trap removal is prepared for True Draco, especially with Mystic Mind not being hit. I think True Draco is still not in the best of spots, but I feel like if you want this deck to become meta without giving us back Masterpiece, which is, I think, a fair option, give us back 3 Diagram. The only decks that would be abusing 3 Diagram are like Dinosaurs, us, True Draco players, and I think like, Fire King players, because they use this to pop the babies or whatever. That's all I could think of people playing this card in. True King of All Calamities was the reason why this card had potential to be broken, and why no one had the idea to bring it back to more than 3, because back when True Draco of All Calamities, or a very unfun dragon, was around, basically this card searches you a level 9, which was really, really stupid when that card was around. But nowadays, that card's banned. True King of All Calamities is a banned card. Level 9s are weaker than ever. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a new level 9 coming out next set, which has potential to be good, but I don't think you're using this card to pop a baby to get it. Now, you can say, oh, but you can search Lithosasm. Lithosasm pops cards in your extra deck. Whoop-de-doo. Yes, but you have to pop 2 Earth monsters. I really don't think having 3 Diagram for your dinosaur players is going to really break the meta here. And even if it does, you just ban it again like we just did Snow. I think if you really want to put this deck back on the map, which a lot of people don't because they have horrible memories of this deck, you definitely give them back 3 to field spell. This card is a fantastic card, and I really do wish it came back. I spent so much talking about this card, I didn't even say what it does yet. So basically all True Dracos and True King monsters, which we're not playing any of the True Kings, gain 300 attack and defense. And then once per turn, you can pop a card you control in your hand or field in order to add a True Draco card from your deck to your hand, which is a fantastic effect. Basically it says, hey, I'm going to get you a Rhoda every turn, and our spells and traps when they're popped get effects. So it's a really, really powerful card. This card, I feel like, should go back to 3 if you want this deck to ever be meta. Fuck Masterpiece. I don't even think Masterpiece is enough. I really do think Dragonic Diagram is the way to go. If you want to put this deck back on meta, that's how you do it. This card's beautiful too, as you can see in the artwork and how much it shines. I really do love this card. I bring it back to Konami. I really think we can. One terraforming, because, terraforming is how we get it. It's our 2 copies. One Cardomize. Cardomize, another card I got to hit that same list. A very powerful card. I don't think Cardomize can come back. Even though it has the best stipulation where you discard your entire hand and you draw 3, and you can't special summon that turn, I feel like this card's a little too broken. Every trap deck would play this card at 3. It'd be one of the best draw cards ever. Now, you can say, hey, we have Pot of Extravagance now. Why don't you play Pot of Extravagance? We do not play Pot of Extravagance. True Dracos is one of those decks that cannot play any single pot card besides Desires. And the reason why is because this deck requires you not to play an extra deck. Now, some builds do have extra decks. I disagree with that entirely. So that's why we're playing Cardomize as our one-of draw card. This card's stupid. I remember playing this thing at 3. It was such a consistent card. And it's really good blowout because let's say you even out the board, you draw into this card, you activate it, you draw 3. Really, really stupid. I know why it's put to 1. I would be surprised if this card ever came back to 3. I'd be quite surprised. Next we have is our 2 Desires. We only ever played 2 Desires anyway in this deck. We never played 3. Pot Desires is a very powerful card. We have 3 ofs now in the deck. The only issue with Pot Desires before was that we didn't want to banish our 1 Dino Knight. But now that we're playing 3 copies of him, we're free to kind of do it. We still don't want to banish all our monsters because that kind of, or some of our 3-0 spells and traps, but that's fine because our ratios are better. So I still think 2 pot is the way to go. And finally, for our last draw card, that's non-archetype, we play 3 Duality because we're not special summoning at all. This card is just a free, basically, upstart without giving our opponents life points. And it allows us to look 3 in our deck to get whatever we need. Every control deck that could use this card uses this card. Very great card. Now we go on to the 2 Draco continuous spells, which there are 2 of. There's first 3 Disciple, which is a fantastic card. Great artwork, by the way. It has all the 2 Dracos together. Including, no Masterpieces in there, but Masterpiece is fine. I think Masterpiece is getting formed in this card right here. But basically, what this card does, I didn't talk about what it does. It basically targets 3 of your True Draco or True King cards in your graveyard. You're only playing True Dracos. You shuffle them back in the deck and then draw 1. A lot of your True Draco cards are going to get popped. So before Eldritch was a thing, this is the control deck that kind of reshuffled back their control cards. And when the continuous spells are popped, you get they're like MSTs. So when these continuous cards are popped, you get to destroy a spell and trap card your opponent controls, which is really, really good against control mirrors. If you're going against, let's say, a Paleo, which was a really good deck at the time, which will be our next deck profile, by the way. I can't believe they saved Totally Awesome. So happy about that. But this is how you beat control decks. You just activate these cards, get a big-ass monster on the field, and then these cards pop your opponent's cards. Really, really great effect. Not to mention it's a recycling card. Stupid. Next for our final spell is 3 Heritage. Now this card's also stupid. Really great artwork as well. And it has great effects. So basically, this card draws cards during your main phase up to the number of True Draco cards that have left the field this turn. Basically saying, if you, for each type, you have to draw 1 card. So if your monster died, you draw 1. If a spell died, you draw 1. If a trap died, you draw 1. Meaning, if you get all 3, this card's a draw 3, which is really, really good. Usually, that doesn't happen unless you're in a bad scenario. So usually, you're just drawing 2. It's a very powerful powerful card. Really good effect. It's also MST when it dies. And that is it for these spells and the spells. Now it's time to go for the traps, which are the shit. Alright, now it's time for our trap cards. Our first trap card that I want to discuss is True King of Return. Now this card was brought back to 3 in the last couple ban lists, and I still think it's a good one-of. I really don't want to be playing True Kings of Return at more than 1, because it really doesn't do anything. In the old days, this card was really, really stupid. So let me explain what it does. For one, when it leaves the field, you get a pop of monster opponent controls. Because it's a resolution effect, and I guess I didn't explain that. Because they're resolving effects, your opponent couldn't really negate them. And what I mean by that is that they don't really activate. They kind of just pop cards. It was a really, really annoying thing. It's hard to explain, really. But these guys are annoying. But basically, you can target 1 True Draco or True King monster in your graveyard. and special summon in defense position. But you can't special summon the rest of the turn. That's fine. Basically, this says it recurs your assholes in grave. Replace such a low monster count that you want to see this card. But at the same time, it's not that good anymore because it doesn't do anything to our opponent besides being like basically back to the front for this archetype. And the worst part is since it special summons the True Draco doesn't get its effects because they only use their effects in a tribute summon. Meaning, you're just getting a beat stick on the field. So this is a good one of. I don't think this is more than 3. I almost want to cut this card, honestly. And it's just a good. This used to be Imperial Order before that card got banned. Not gonna lie. But this card's a decent one. It has one of the best artworks too. It has all the True Kings because the True Kings are the enemies. The True Dracos are supposed to be the heroes. At least that's what I always follow the lore. And speaking of the fight, the best trap card True Draco's ever got, and why Dynamite was put the one. True Draco Apocalypse. This card is a fucking house. This card's stupid. Basically, it has 2 effects, and both of them are quite stupid. It has 3 effects, technically. The first is the continuous effect that when this card is destroyed or leaves the field, you get to basically pop a monster opponent controls. Great effect. Then it has 2 effects, and both those effects are stupid. It shares the effect with True King's Return, where you can tribute summon during your opponent's turn using continuous spells and traps your opponent controls. Meaning you can summon out, for example, when Masterpiece was back, you can tribute out Masterpiece during your opponent's turn, which is really, really stupid. So that's why this card's actually playable, because you also tribute during your opponent's turn. I forgot to mention that. But it also has the effect where once per turn you can tribute a continuous spell or trap or a True Draco you control and have all monsters on your opponent's field in half. Their attack and defense are halved forever. That's a really, really stupid effect. Meaning, basically, hey, you're never getting over our True Draco monsters. The reason why Masterpiece is so good is because you can have this card backing it up, and like you say, oh, you just run over Masterpiece. No, because Apocalypse is going to have your monster. Doesn't matter to make Access Code. Access Code is probably under Skill Drain or Monarch's Erupt, and guess what? We're having it attack anyway. It's not doing shit to us. This card's stupid. It's one of the most powerful cards ever printed in Yu-Gi-Oh! And it has made a lot of people quit this game. This is one of the most annoying and evil cards ever printed, and I'm so happy it exists. This card's amazing. We just need a higher rarity printing. I think, or at least I do. There might be higher rarity printings that exist. I do not own them. Let me know if you can find some, because I would love to update these into the higher rarity print, because this card is such a powerful bullshit card. Another card that's also bullshit that we must discuss. Monarch's Erupt. The skill drain that wasn't good in Monarchs, but was good here. So Monarchs, which is a deck I haven't really talked about yet, is the predecessor to this deck. And this card probably came out when Monarchs came out. It's a Monarchs card. But Monarchs don't play this card. They have Vanity's Fiend. They don't need this card. They want their effects. Well, this doesn't stop your monsters from having effects, but it stops them like their squires. So that's why they don't play this card. It's also a little bricky. The deck is very known to brick. This deck is not. Well, it kind of does because the Field Spells have one, but not anymore. But basically what I'm trying to get at is that Monarch's Erupt was a card that the previous deck did not use as well as this deck does. This deck uses this card like stupid. Skill Drain has always been at 3 for this deck because this card has always existed. And it's even at 9 now. Skill Drain is at 9 in this deck. You know that, right? We have 3 Monarchs of Luck, which basically says if you control a tribute summon monster, and you have no cards in your extra deck, because all the Monarch cards have that speculation that you must not have an extra deck. Well then, hey, all monsters your opponent controls that weren't tribute summoned are negated. Screw you, Eldritch. Well, actually, Eldritch doesn't give a fuck. They play Skill Drain. Screw you to your elements. Screw you, Splight. You're not doing shit to this Monarch's Erupt. It's sitting there, and you're dealing with a fucking 2800 monster that says, fuck you, you're going to kill my ass twice. And even then, this card won't leave the field until you blow it up, you cosmic it, or you don't have a true Drake, a tribute monster, during the end phase of your turn. Not your opponent's turn, your turn. I mean, you just tribute summon again, and this thing's still living. This card is stupid, it is evil, and I'm so happy it never got touched. This card is ridiculous. And plus, the artwork is fantastic. A Monarch's literally coming out of flames right now. Crazy. Now we talk about one of the goofiest cards we play. 3, lose 1 turn. This card's literally skill drain, but better for this deck. Funny enough, we're not playing skill drain in this deck. I know you're probably thinking sacrilege. This deck's made to play skill drain. It's Eldritch, right? You gotta play skill drain. Well, no, actually. Skill drain's actually kind of bad in this deck, and I'll explain why. Skill drain negates all opponent's monsters. Your monsters, your opponent monsters. You pay 1,000 for it. It's forever negated. That's bad. Now, it's bad for your opponent mostly, but it's also bad for you. Because we can't rely on Masterpiece anymore. We cannot rely on the field spell protecting our monsters twice anymore. Meaning, skill drain isn't as strong in this deck due to the fact that we want our true Dracos to gain us advantage. One of the most powerful things about the true Draco monsters is that every turn while they're on the field, not only are they big, but every time your opponent tries something, you're going to get an effect to add a card, which is fantastic adding. All the monsters are Stratos, basically. Every time your opponent does something, it just adds. It's kind of like the new Kershami Law archetype. It's kind of a lot like that, where every time your opponent does something, they trigger themselves and they do something. Really, really powerful card. And Skill Drain basically says, hey, we're just going to rely on this Floodgate. If they add it, we lose. Basically, that's what they're saying. And I think lose 1 turn does everything that Skill Drain does, but better because it doesn't hurt us. So let me explain what lose 1 turn is, because most of you probably never even seen this card. Basically, you activate this card only if you control no special summon monsters, which we don't play any monsters that can special summon themselves besides the True King of Return. But besides that, no other monsters getting special summoned. And basically what this card says is that while this card's face up on the field, your opponent, if they summon anything, any special summon monster, has their effects negated and they're changed to the defense position. This card's Babushka on legs. Yes, it's only on them when they're summoned, but that doesn't matter. You're killing them that turn. Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! No one's making a boss monster with like Poly anymore. Now, I guess Guardian Chimera is one thing, but Guardian Chimera isn't a negate. What I'm trying to get at is all their little monsters climb to the bigger monsters. No modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck without their little monsters, besides True Draco and Eldritch and any other trap deck, can play without their little monsters. Splight cannot really do anything if they're under this card. All their monsters will be put in defense, and all their effects are going to be negated. They can try, they can make Elf, they can make the XYZ, but they're negated. Next turn, just go your turn, beat the shit out of them, and you're good to go. Full throttle. Now, I can probably see you saying, why aren't we playing Skill Drain? Why aren't we playing the Skill Drain? Well, I wanted to put a different Floodgate in this deck. I have 2 other Floodgates what I feel like are better than Skill Drain. And I want to talk about it because we're already playing 6 Skill Drain. This is Skill Drain right here. This does everything that Skill Drain does, but better because this puts our monsters in defense position. So let's say they make a Boral Sword. Well, it doesn't matter. That fucker's going to be in defense position. We're just going to beat over him with True King of Apocalypse. Monarchs Erupt, same thing. This card's fantastic. We play 3 Rivalry, because Rivalry is fantastic this format. Anyone who says that is lying to you, if it ain't. Because this hurts Tier Element, this hurts Splight, this hurts everybody. And you know why it hurts everybody besides, like, I guess, Cyber's decks? Because they have to, every modern deck that's in the meta right now are playing multiple different monsters. And their combo deck, Splight and Tier, are losing in this card. Because with Splight, they're locked into their Thunder monsters. They can't go access their extra deck. They can't make a Zeus on you. He's a machine. They're stuck in the Thunders. So they gotta beat your ass, which is already a really bad beatdown deck. Splight has to access this extra deck to kill you. All the little guys are little. Yes, they have the XYZ that becomes like 20, 32, 36, whatever. Doesn't matter. That's their only win condition. And they only played 2 of them. So meaning, if you just clear 2 of those fuckers, you'll win the game. Rivalry says, fuck you. You're stuck in what you're doing. Tier elements? Forget about it. They're playing fucking dangers. They're playing every attribute of fucking sun. They cannot beat this card unless they have an out to this card. And yeah, you can say, they play Galaxy Cyclone. Well, motherfucker, they gotta mill that Galaxy Cyclone. That's a one-of. And yeah, I can say, games 2 and 3, it's worse. You're right. That's why we play cards like Judgment. And fucking cards that say, hey, I'm negating your shit. Deal with it. Really, really good. Rivalry, fantastic card. Another card I think is really, really good because it protects our floodgates while giving us time to kill them. Anti-Spell. Anti-Spell is such a powerful card in this deck specifically. I'm so glad this card got reprinted. This card is fantastic in this deck. You know what this card reads? This card reads, I win the game against spell decks. Oh, you play Dark Rulers and you're playing Lightning Storms? Well, you set those cards because that gives me a turn to clear them. All my continuous spells and my spells can pop your set cards. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to flip up this anti-spell. You're going to set your very fancy Lightning Storm. And then my turn comes around and I'm going to tribute summon a True Draco. Pop your back row. That Lightning Storm you just set. Bye-bye. It's back to grave. And then you got to do this whole process all over again. It doesn't matter. The only way you're losing is if they have Twin or Cosmic. I guess MST too, but who's fucking playing MST? Those are the 3 cards. And no one's playing Twin anymore. Unless you're Rogue. No offense. I love Twin. It's a very great card. Very underrated. But no one plays it anymore. It's literally Lightning Storm or bust. And Lightning Storm is not enough. Especially with Red Reboot getting the fuck out of Dodge. Thank God for that. Because trap decks have never been more stronger. Because that card, that one of bullshit card, we no longer have to play around it. Red Reboot, bye-bye. And finally, 3 Solemn Judgment. The man says no. God himself has come down and said no to you, sir. You do not get to play the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! You get to sit there and watch my 2600, 2800 beat stick beat the shit out of you for 10 minutes. That's how the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is played. This deck is fantastic. It's phenomenal. Hate me in the comments for it. I love this deck. Thank God. We have some different decks in the format. Now, I know you're going to say, well, this is no better than Flunder. And you're exactly right. This is Flunder before Flunder. This is True Draco after Monarch. This is one of the best decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'm so, so happy that it finally is playable again. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not great. Every better matchup is still better than you. But as a control deck, in this format, I would say True Draco's top 5 control decks right now. No joke. I think it would go True Draco, Eldritch, those 2 are like there. Labyrinth, Altergeist, Subterror once a new support comes out. What was the other control deck I didn't mention? Labyrinth, True Draco, Altergeist, Subterror. All those decks are now in the same ballpark, I feel like, when it comes to power. Because this card right here is so stupid. Now we can search it and have it every turn is ridiculously good. You have no idea how consistent this deck just got because of this one new thing we got. So happy. Solemn Judgment, such a great card. Anti-Spell is going to say, fuck you, Lightning Storm. They better Cosmic me, and they better hope I don't have a Judgment. Or, here's another alternative you can play. You take out the rivalries, right? And you put in 3 copies of Dark Bribe. Does it say, I have 9 ways to counter your back row removal? Now, maybe you side deck into the Dark Bribes, or maybe you play Blizzard. Blizzard's really good, too. The only issue I have with Blizzard is that it doesn't, like, negate and it just fizzles out. It just goes back to their hand, so they just do it next turn, which I don't like about it. That's why I don't have Blizzard in the side. I have Dark Bride. Now, yes, they do draw a card, but you negated it. So that's my personal opinion. Dark Bride or Blizzard. Those are the two really interesting cards. There's another card you play if you were playing the extra deck version, which was what's it called? The one that played Stardust. A Stardust card. Really interesting. But personally, I don't play it. That's just my opinion. I hope you all enjoy. This deck will be seen at your locals. Fear the true Dracos. All be safe in the storm. Take care.